Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you seasoned veterans of what we do around here. What we do around here is bring about a conversation of a continual nature. And signs that someone may be trying to use you as a scapegoat is the ultimate purpose of this particular audio. We continue to add, we get over 1,500 of these available for your listening pleasure. Continue to add for your benefit whenever we can, usually several times per week. Please feel free to reach out at PO Perception on Twitter or in the About Me section of this YouTube page, and my contact information is there. Please feel free to reach out. And ultimately, so if someone's using you as a scapegoat, they may start using you as a punching bag. This is because they're looking for someone to blame for their own issues. Many people don't have the emotional or mental capacity to understand that most of what they do is a result of things that they have already done. In other words, the consequences of their actions do eventually come around. And it doesn't mean these people are unintelligent. It's just sometimes we often are living at such a crazy pace or a hurting pace. In other words, we have been hurt so badly that we don't really think before we act. We don't think about the possibilities and ramifications of actions or words, and thus we engage in things that are going to come back to haunt us or negatively affect us later. Now, the problem with that ultimately becomes that a person does begin to expect certain things in general when people behave in a certain way. Again, the problem with that becomes, is a person really motivated by the right or wrong way of being? And at the end of the day, too, is the judgment that another person's passing on us justified or not justified? And that becomes challenging. Sometimes also we enable people to behave in manners that are unkind to us and or further the things that we would rather they not do. We do this oftentimes to stay in a relationship with a person, even if staying in that relationship isn't in our best interest. And so that becomes problematic for a number of reasons. Obviously, we want our relationships to remain, otherwise, we wouldn't have invested emotionally in a person to begin with. However, if we're enabling someone to do something that will eventually hurt us or is continuing to hurt us, that's not exactly the best of decisions to make. But when a person isn't ready to deal with those emotions, it can become super challenging to begin to see the value of the relationship not being what we thought it was. And sometimes the jarring nature of that issue can be a lot to deal with. These individuals will also engage in the process of gossiping about us and gossiping in the nature of you know, just thinking about the ways in which we need to answer our phone. Apparently, I'll be right back with two shakes of lamb's tail. And again, as we move forward a little bit into the nature of things and everything that comes that way, ultimately, um, there's a nature of what it is that comes around with having those relationships be helpful. Again, a toxic person or someone who's using you as a scapegoat is always going to downplay your accomplishments as well, and that downplaying really ultimately comes down as the nature of they need to be the center of attention only when there's positive things going on, but they need you there to cover the negativities of what they create when they are not living well and or making mistakes in a general nature. And the level of mistake that comes with the focus and that comes with the realities of things, ultimately, when you begin to focus on making life a better thing for you and not blaming other people, you're going to own your mistakes and you're going to kind of look at them differently than you would if you are expecting other people to take responsibility for the things that you've done that are out of balance and or not in your best interest. The next thing there is the ignoring of the needs of other people if they don't directly pertain to the person who's trying to scapegoat. That is, they're not fully invested in the relationships they have with other people because those relationships are only there to serve the ego of the person who is ultimately being served through whatever is there. And so the ignoring of those relationships and the ignoring of those behaviors ultimately becomes the center point at which relationships begin to fall apart. And obviously, that's not something a lot of people want to deal with at any level. However, kind of the legacy that's created through a healthy relationship is the willingness of give and take, the volley in the relationship itself. And when the volley becomes the center of that which ultimately is moving forward, it begins to be something that can be good in the long run. So hopefully this is helpful. I encourage you, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Till next time, everybody.